So we have some terrifying economic news for you. This is, becoming a recurring thing these days, to say the least. The Financial Times says, U.S. officials warn that the jobless rate could top 20%. Now, let me break that down a little bit for you, because that needs to be put in context. Right now, the official unemployment rate is 14.7%. That's the official unemployment rate. The real unemployment rate, the U6 unemployment rate, which is a more accurate way of measuring it, it's between 22 and 23%. So the real unemployment rate is already over 20%. What they're talking about is, even with the BS way we calculate it, it could go over 20%. Now, if that happens, we've never seen anything like this before in U.S. history. It would even surpass the Great Depression. Because the U6 unemployment rate, as a general rule, like the actual unemployment rate, you take the regular number and you double it, or maybe a little bit less than that. There are times I've seen it like double what the normal rate is, okay? But like, we're talking about, if we have, let's say, 20% unemployment rate, the official number, that means we're looking at anywhere from 33% to 40% actual unemployment. Never seen anything like this before in U.S. history. Never seen it. We're going to enter a time, we're already there, but I think we're going to enter a period of instability that we haven't seen in our lifetimes or our parents' lifetimes. It'll look like the Great Depression, and a lot of people are experiencing a lot of pain. And this is why the way that Congress is reacting is such a scandal. It's such a scandal because what they're doing is absurd. First and foremost, they bailed out businesses and corporations and financial institutions. Then they gave people crumbs. Well, the crumbs aren't enough. And sooner or later, the brunt of this thing is going to hit. I shudder at the thought of how bad this can get. And it looks like it's going to get insanely bad. So, Business Insider also says, Fed Chair Powell just said 40% of households, 40%, making less than $40,000 a year lost a job in March. So the people at the bottom of the economic ladder are getting hit the hardest, unsurprisingly. Now, at the same time that we're talking about all this stuff, did you know a story just came out that if the current trends hold, by the year 2026, Jeff Bezos will be the world's first trillionaire? Trillionaire. 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. More than half of workers in America make $30,000 a year or less. And Jeff Bezos, by 2026, might be a trillionaire. Trillionaire. I said it before, I'll say it again. Redistribution of wealth is the duh position. It really is. You have to redistribute wealth. Now, there's a reasonable discussion to be had as to how much, what's the line, what should the tax rate be, what should the government fund. Like, all that stuff is in the realm of open discussion and debate, without a doubt. But if you are an economic conservative, a libertarian, your position is preposterous. In a world where we have a trillionaire and we have 78% of the country living paycheck to paycheck, we have what might actually be 35 or 40% unemployment. We have poverty on a sharp increase. We have, as of right now, maybe 500,000 homeless people that'll probably rise to well above 1 million very shortly, as soon as they allow evictions again. We might have a homelessness crisis that's surpasses anything we've ever seen. We could have, I don't know, millions and millions of people that lose their homes and don't have a roof over their head anymore. All while a dude is getting $1 trillion. Wow. I think the real debate is still whether or not billionaires should be allowed to exist. Because $1 billion is already more money than anybody could ever spend. So if you're reasonable, I should say. Like, that's the real conversation. Now we're talking about a trillionaire? A trillion. We live in a new Gilded Age. If that hasn't occurred to you yet, it should.